on.
There, now it has a remote.
All right.
My problem is I fall asleep sometimes.
Okay, yeah, so you're not the cameraman. All right. So this is part 2 of Fear of Redemption, Fear of Love, Our Fear of Love, part 2. And it's in chapter 13, section 3. And in my book, it's paragraph 4. You have built your whole insane belief system. Does everybody see where that is? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so just the last week, we started this section called the Fear of Redemption. And what it is it's talking about our deepest fear. At the beginning of the section, he says, you need to look at your hostility. And you may wonder why you're being asked to look at your hostility, and why can't Holy Spirit just look at it for you and undo it for you? Why is it important that we look at that hostile part of ourselves, the part of us that is angry, and look at it ourselves? And he said in the earlier part of this section, the reason we need to look at it is because we need to find out what it's hiding. And so we heard this wild thought that hostility is a cover. Hostility is always a cover. It's a cover. It's always a cover for something you're more afraid of. And so he was saying, you don't hide your hostility because you are afraid of your hostility or really bothered by it. We don't hide our hostility because we just don't want people to know how angry we are sometimes. We hide our hostility and our anger and pretend we don't have it because we're more afraid of what our hostility is hiding and covering. And lo and behold, what our hostility is hiding is love, our burning desire for God and God's burning desire for us. That's what it's really hiding. And we were talking, and it was saying that we're more afraid of that because that kind of love, were we to experience that kind of love, the kind of love God has for us and us for God, if we were to experience it, that we would throw everything but that away. We would throw the world away and rush to that love. And that we're afraid that we feel like our strength lies in our defiance. And we believe that our weakness is not being able to control our joyous response to something. And so anything we experience where we cannot control our joyous response to it, no matter how hard we try, that's the thing that we feel weak. That's the thing we tell us makes us weak. And so we've come to believe that our love makes us weak, right? And we can all relate to that, afraid of love because of the weakness that we feel, right? And we believe that defiance, being able to say no to love, is our strength. And so we have this kind of split-mindedness. When love comes close, we feel afraid and run away. And when not love is there, we rush toward it because of that. Okay? So that's a little synopsis. Anybody have anything to add to that little synopsis? All right. So paragraph 4 is just continuing on the same theme. Paragraph 4. You have built your whole insane belief system. Is it paragraph 4 for y'all?
Yes.
Okay. You have built your whole insane belief system called the ego. Why? Because you think you would be helpless in God's presence. And you would save yourself from God's love. Why? Because you think love would crush you into nothingness. Wow. Oh, that's why I'm afraid of God. I'm so afraid of God, I didn't even know I was afraid of God. All I know is that I ignore him a lot. Most of the time. right? Okay, and this is also, when it says God's love, right? You're afraid God's love would crush you into nothingness. But remember, the Course says there is no love but God's. So when it says God's love, it's talking about all love, just talking about love, right? So this is our fear of love, not just our fear of God's love, okay? The Course says there is no love but God's. Isn't that interesting? There is no love but God's. In other words, God's the author of love, and so love is as God authored it. Love is as God extends it. Love is as God created it and as God extends it. And so anything that's unlike the love of God is not love. It's something else. It's something else. It's man-made specialness. It's man-made. And the Course says what it is it's fear given the name love. Okay? Okay, so what we call love is not love at all. What we call love is fear. Right? How ingenious of our ego. How ingenious. It's a brilliant way to get away from real love, God's love. God's love is formless. Is our love formless? I wish. I wish my love was formless. Which means if my love has anything whatsoever to do with form, and if my love whatsoever has anything to do with form, then my love is something that's based on the body, based on time, and it's conditional. Anything of the body is conditional, right? So I don't know of a love that doesn't even see form. Do you? I'm learning about the love that knows no form, which means it knows no limits, which means it doesn't even see differences. It doesn't know of differences. Real love, God's love, is an energy or a force that just extends. It just extends. It doesn't encounter any barriers. It doesn't end. It does not choose or have preferences. It just extends because that is what it does. Okay? Now, is that what we call our love? No. Our love is like, I love you when, I love you if, I love the one who, right? I love someone who, oh, you didn't do that, I don't love you anymore. Oh, you did that? You don't love me anymore. So, anybody recognize that? So, the Course in Miracles says you have no concept of the idea of love without sacrifice. You can't even conceive of the idea of love without sacrifice, meaning loss, meaning a love that doesn't ask anything of you. Can you imagine experiencing a love that did not have any need of anyone to do anything or be any way? Can you imagine? Can you imagine receiving that?
Then you get everything you want, though.
What'd you say?
Then you get everything you want. You got it made.
Exactly.
But we can never experience that.
Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can if you want to. So, experiencing that kind of love comes first from, hey, I'd love to experience that kind of love. I'd love to experience a love that I was not afraid to lose, And I would love to experience a love where I knew that I wouldn't have to lose anything, ever. Wow, a love where I don't have to give up anything, a love where I don't have to lose myself, I don't have to give up myself, I don't have to put myself on a shelf. A love where I don't have to be afraid of losing it. A love that I don't have to worry that if I look different or change, that something will happen to that love. So it comes first from like, oh, I'd like to experience that. And then asking for it. And then going to the right source for it. That's a big part of it. You know, we're all like, I want love, I want love, I want love. But we're misdefining love, and then we're going to the wrong source, the source that cannot produce love, that is never the author of love. And we go to the wrong place for it, like other people. And then we go, oh, see, love is unreal. So we first have to learn what it is from the source of love. I see. To find love, I'm supposed to go to the source of love. Who knew? Isn't that funny? Like we know if you want to find something, go to its source, right? But we do that with everything but love. Okay, so I have to define it as its creator defined it, and then I have to only go to its creator for it. That's how I find it or experience it. And of course, only to find out that, oh, I am that. I am that. Oh, yeah, and it's everything. It's everything. So now love isn't just something that one human gives to another human. It's actually all there is. It is everything. It is God. It is the universe. It is you. It is energy. It is light. It's everything. And that's why you can't lose it. Okay? So that's how you experience it. You define it like its creator defines it, and go only to the creator for it, instead of to other people to get it, to take it from their body, acting a certain way. Wow. Now, I'm just talking about the love of God, because he's talking about the love of God here. He's saying that's what you're really afraid of. And so I just wanted to take a moment and talk about the love of God. What is it? What is the love of God? Because sometimes we don't relate to that, because that's not what we're usually thinking about. We're not thinking about, oh God, I want to feel the love of God today and forever. No, we're like, boy, I'd like to feel loved by somebody today. Right? And so we don't tend to think about wanting the love of God. We tend to think about wanting to be liked and wanting to be recognized and wanted and loved by others, and not wanting to lose someone's love, and we're trying to get someone's love. Okay? So the Course in Miracles is saying you may think you want the love of another human, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff to get it. Like, oh, I know, I'll sacrifice myself. Yeah, I'll just forget about who I am and what I want, and I'll become what they want. Anybody recognize that one? Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not alone up here. Okay. So, now I can't remember what I was saying.
The love of God.
Thank you. Okay. So anybody goes like, don't talk about that. I told you. See what I did to you last week after class? And you still don't get it. So you think you want the love of another human, and we do all this crazy stuff to get the love of others. The main one being to sacrifice who we are and what we want so that they will want us or like us. And he's saying, but what you really want And what's really underneath all that searching is something that you don't realize, but that you have been wanting forever and running from forever. And that's what's really going on. You think this is going on? This is what's really happening. Now, when you take your mind from this level of what you think is happening, I was trying to get love like this, and I'm trying to get love from that, like that, and I'm trying to get love from them like this, and I'm trying to do this to be more lovable, and I'm trying to change myself like this to be more lovable, and I'm trying to change them so that they'll be more lovable. And you take your mental, emotional, spiritual energy and you put it to, hey, what is love? What is love? And you start looking for love from the source of love. Now you find your true heart's desire, what you've been looking for forever. Really, truly, since the time you did your little detour into fear, we call the separation. Since that day you ran away from home, this is what you've been really looking for. Now, when you find what you've always really been looking for in your heart of hearts, and you find out that you are love, and everything is love, and that love satisfies you beyond your wildest dreams of satisfaction. What happens then is that now you have all the love that you can barely handle. And now you are able to be a really, truly loving person. Now you can love other people for real, but only now. Because as long as you were thinking that love was them and what they did for you, and what you gave up of yourself for them, you could not love another soul. As long as you think that love is something to get from another, which means something you can lose from another, then you cannot love anybody else. Look, if I'm afraid that maybe I won't deserve your love, but then once I do get your love, I might lose your love if I don't look right or act right, there's not a chance in the world that I could really love you. So I cannot love for real until I learn the true nature of love. The true nature of love is God's love. Doesn't that sound cheesy? Oh, that's so cheesy. That's what everybody says.
So,
But it's true.
So Craigslist is out.
No, just put a real ad on Craigslist. Say, I'm looking for the love of God.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
And anyone who knows where that might be,
That's right.
all
I
right,
know,
right. Here's my email. You sure would get some interesting responses.
Yeah.
You sure would. Wouldn't that be awesome if you got somebody who said, I'm looking for the same thing. Let's look together. And by the way, you're cute. Wouldn't that be great?
That would
By the way, you're cute. Okay.
be, that would be all dreams.
You never know. So now here's the deal though. When you do what I was just talking about, like, hey, you know, okay, this search for love has about killed me. At the very least, it has made me very depressed, sometimes very lonely, quite angry at times, my search for love, right? And, you know, the way we've been searching for love ends in despair and a whole lot of grievances, right? Now, once you've come to that point, you realize, okay, I'm done with that search for love. I'm going to go for I'm going to do a different search, okay? And I'm going to try to find out what the author of love, how the author of love defines it, and where the author of love put it. And I'm going to go there. Now, once you start doing that and you experience a whole nother world, a whole nother way of being, where you feel liberated from the search. How'd you like to be liberated from the search? You know that search?
Yeah.
The looking, depression, looking, excitement, despair. Looking, trying, changing, sacrificing, excitement, boom, despair. Well, the Course says this kind of searching wears you out.
It does.
And he says it actually wears out all the things in the world too. It wears you out, okay? In other words, it fatigues you, body, mind, and spirit. Because you were created to search. That's not what you were created for. Looking. Oh. It's like, it's like being bipolar every day of your life. So you weren't created to search. You were created to be. You were created to be and extend the love that you are. You were created to be and do exactly what God does. Extend love. God bees himself and extends his love. That's what we were created to do. Extend the love that we are by being it, period. That's it. Radiate it. So when you decide to stop the search and find out what love really is according to its creator, and you experience this new level of being, then you come to the next. Then you come to this, which is you come to the part of you that, dear God, that is what you have been running from all your life. That's what you were really searching for underneath the search for specialness. Underneath and behind the search for people to love you and like you and give to you and all that. Behind that was the intense and burning desire to experience the real love, the love of God, the love that is. The Course says that's what's behind our search for love, is our desire for the love of God. The love that is, the love that we are. Now, and then you come upon what the Course says, and now your ancient terror has come upon you. When you allow that love to come into your awareness, then you come up against this. Whoa, now I'm really scared. Because my ancient terror has come upon me at last. And what is that? That's that I found love. I found love. And now I realize that I wasn't afraid of loneliness, and I wasn't afraid of anger. I was really afraid of a love that is so big and so great and so powerful that nothing, and I mean nothing, in the world even holds a candle to it in worth. And I'm ready and willing to throw everything I made, every illusion, every vain desire, every vain fantasy, every made-up self-concept of myself, every special relationship I made out of fear. I'm ready to throw it all away, because nothing has the value to me that love has. That's my big fear. That's my only fear. Wow. And that's what this section is about.
Well, to grasp this, when they're talking about the love of God, I think this is really almost a new concept for us, because that describes a love without need.
That's right.
And all the loves we've ever thought of has needs. There's ours. Ours is a need-based thing.
Ours is a need.
Without need thing.
That's
it's
right.
a whole new concept for us.
Exactly. A love without need? Whoa. I think I'm afraid of a love based on need, that maybe my need won't get met. I think that's what I'm afraid of. But that is not what I'm afraid of. The love based on need, I need to get my needs met, but what if I don't? That's what I feel comfortable with. I ain't afraid of that. I'm used to that. I feel comfortable with that. If something beyond that and bigger than that would come close to me, what would I do? Ooh, run the other way. Because my ego feels comfortable in fear. My ego feels comfortable with anger. My ego feels comfortable with, I don't have enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. It's never good enough. I don't have enough. This isn't enough. You're not enough. I'm not enough. I ain't got enough. And it's your fault. I feel comfortable with that. Right? I complain about it all day long, but that is what I feel comfortable with. And when real love comes close and is something different from that, my ego freaks out. Because that's my ego's one fear. That's my ego's one fear. My ego is not afraid to lose other people, or people won't like me, or they'll be upset with me. That is not what my ego is afraid of. My ego loves that. But if somebody or some kind of love is to draw close and completely overlook my body, that blows my ego out of the water, right? That's my ego's real fear, the love of God. The love that doesn't even see my ego.
It's that need part that enables us control.
That's right.
Without the need, we can't control anything.
Thank you. Without the need, we can't control.
Either them or ourselves.
Exactly. That's exactly
That's
right.
probably what's really freaking us out.
That's right. What, you don't need me? Ooh, I don't think this is gonna work.
So to be willing to accept that I am enough and I already have everything I need.
Yes, that's right. Because you are love.
Because I am love.
And you can't lose that. Now, what if that was the idea we started practicing or meditating on when we noticed that we were all upset because our needs were getting met by another, and we were like tempted to interpret that like they don't love us or they don't know how to love us, and so maybe we don't love them. What if we were to meditate on, hey, I am love.
It's very powerful. I use it all the time
Yeah.
to help me overcome my personality side.
Exactly.
And
That's
I
exactly right.
recognize that I can apply that in many, many things. Well, everything. That I do.
Everything, exactly. Especially every situation where you notice yourself wanting to plan or control the outcome with another human being. Exactly. And then what you find out when you go, okay, that's temptation, okay, that's temptation, and I will never find real love, I will never experience real love if I fall for that, if I give in to that temptation to control and manipulate in the name of love to get love, I will never experience love. Now, I don't believe that, but I see the logic of it, so I'm just going to use it. And you don't fall for the temptation, but you instead choose real love, then what you experience on the other side of that is real love. A love where there ain't nothing to earn and there's no chance of loss. Wow. That's what I want. I want to be able to experience that kind of love so that I can love people for real. I want to be able to give real love. And that's the only way that I'll be able to do it. You know, I can't love anybody for real if I need them to do anything. Wow.
But you have to get comfortable with that whole idea. I mean, mostly what we've been chasing is our definition
Thank you.
of love.
So I love what you're saying. The goal here is to get comfortable with real love. Get comfortable with it such that, you know, how do you get comfortable with something? Yeah, you let it come and you go, okay, that's good. Push it back a little bit. Maybe next week. And then you have to then allow the idea to come in, enjoy that idea, let it come in. I allowed that idea to come in for me through the Course. And then since the Course, then through meditation where the Course taught me how to allow that idea to come in. It taught me how to invite that idea in. It taught me when to do it. It taught me how to do it. And so you let the idea come in, you let it fill that feeling of need. You let it like satisfy that illusion of need is what the Course calls it. And you enjoy it for a moment and you remind yourself, feeling fulfilled now is safe and natural. That's safe and natural. It's safe and natural to feel fulfilled by the love I am. And that's how you get comfortable with it. That's how you adjust. It's like, and stretch. So that you don't freak out when it comes close. Okay? So we're adjusting ourselves to ecstasy.
I find for me, what really helps me to be able to stay in that place as best I can in human experience is to anchor it.
Yes. And how do you do that?
By working with it,
Yes.
working with myself, because otherwise I'm all over the place. I'm in my human experience. But when I work with anchoring that into my heart space to be as Christ-like or as God-like
Yes.
love as
Yes.
I can possibly be, then I begin to recognize when I'm less than that. Because anything less than God's love is exactly that. It's less than.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting, like in this section, he really reminds us that the reason we don't experience more joy, more love, more aliveness, and the reason we don't experience this kind of love that we're talking about is because we're uncomfortable with it. We're not adjusted to it. We're uncomfortable with it. It's like someone who's been in a dark cave for most of their life, and then they walk out into the bright sunlight, and that's painful. It's like, it's uncomfortable. Now, it may be your natural state. You are of the light, you are born in the light, you're going back to the light, you are light. Maybe your natural state, but contrasted to what you've been used to, it's painful, it's uncomfortable. And so we literally are learning how to readjust or to adjust ourselves to our natural state of love, of peace. And that in order to do that, or as you're doing that, this section is perfect because it's going to teach you how to do that, and also what's going to come up for you, what kind of resistance is going to come up for you as you progress forward, closer to that light, that love, that natural state of peace all the time. Like, as I'm moving closer to my natural state of peace all the time, my ego's going to be like, no, loss, 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 run back. You're going to lose, you're going to lose, you're going to lose. That's what our ego tells us. You're going to lose your specialness. You're going to, if you love like that, you are going to lose the special relationships that are based on fear. So your ego is lost, you're going to lose, don't go forward, don't go forward, don't go forward. Remember, love is specialness. Remember, love is sacrifice, is what your ego will be telling you to keep you from moving forward. So the Course, and this section in particular, it's helping you to continue moving forward to real love while understanding why your ego is trying to give you reasons to run back and to sabotage, run back. Run back to what? Run back to the old version of love so that you can get somebody to give you something that nobody else is giving you, or that they're not giving to everybody else. okay? There's the love of God, real love, and then there's the love we think we want, which is where somebody treats us better than they treat everybody else. Where they go, you, I love you more. Right? And here's the way I'm going to prove it. Okay?
You probably, as you talk about moving forward, have found you have to hit that place where you really truly understand that, yeah, you will lose some things, and it's all those things that were hurting you.
Right.
That's all those losses, that's all they were, was pain.
That's right.
But at first it seems that there are other important things that are precious to us.
Exactly.
And you can't really move till you get to that point where, oh, this is hurting. I'm happy to get rid of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Whereas you don't lose it, you choose to throw it away, you don't want it anymore.
Right, exactly. And I can relate, you know, there's a part of me that feels like that if I loved everybody with the love of God, and I loved everybody equally, that there would be some people who wanted some special kind of love from me who would be upset with me and who might leave me because I wasn't giving something specially to them. Does that make sense? You might relate to that. And so one of the ways that we will often keep ourselves from the love of God, from the love, is we will form a special relationship with one other human that requires a very specific and special kind of love. It requires us to focus on them mostly as an expression of our love. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you my pattern. As I would experience the ecstasy of the love of God more via the means of A Course in Miracles, because that's one of the things A Course in Miracles does for me. Whenever I study it all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, I start to feel the love of God, this big, limitless love force that is everywhere, everything, and me, and I feel it satisfying me, fulfilling my every need. And my ego feels threatened, and then my ego's like, oh, let's take your awareness to a special relationship. Wouldn't it be better if you could just get the love of them? Right? What it does is it counsels you. So when I would have those periods of time where I was like experiencing that kind of love, the next thing I knew, I would be in a relationship that required a lot of my focus and a lot of my time and a lot of my energy, and was high maintenance in trying to figure out how they could meet all my needs and I could meet all theirs. And then I would forget completely. Okay? Now, then, because the relationship was based on the fear of love, even though it seemed to be dedicated to the search for love, right? Because the relationship was based on my fear of God, the love, when that relationship broke down, because it was based on fear and based on the body, then I would, and then the relationship would end, then I would be like, oh my God, I would realize, I would like feel like I was waking up from a dream. And I'd be like, what just happened?
And a child can be the toughest.
You better believe
That's
it.
the hardest. That would be the hardest special.
I'm still hoping to wake up from that dream.
Definitely. If you have kids, you want you treat everyone the same. They think they're gonna.
Absolutely.
They're supposed to be special. You're a child.
Exactly.
There's one example of it.
That's exact. Thank you
That's
for
a
saying
real
that.
pull.
After the birth of my child, I remember going,
Yeah.
you know, how will I ever, you know, want only that love again?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that is a special relationship that requires a ton, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So once that relationship would end, or for some reason, then it would be like waking up like, hey, where have I been? Have a relationship ever ended and you thought to yourself, where have I been? Why did I not go back to a course class for 9 months? Why haven't I picked up my book? Why did I stop meditating for all that time? Why is it that right? So, the Course in Miracles says that the special relationship is the ego's chief weapon for keeping you from heaven. Chief weapon. Now, that's not to say relationships are bad. It's just to say that your ego, when it feels afraid of the love, because it's the end of the ego, then your ego counsels you to go get a special love, whether it's with a child, or a mate, or a notion, or a concept. Maybe you become a revolutionary, or whatever. You have a special relationship with, whatever. So the ego goes, but wouldn't you prefer love just for you? It would be so sweet, wouldn't it? Oh, you could walk on the beach together. It would be so sweet. And so what it does is it counsels you to forget the love so that you can go find a little love. The Course calls it scraps of love for you and you alone, to meet your needs that came from your wounded past. That's what it does. That's what the Course says. That's why that kind of relationship where you're seeking for the love that somebody else deprived you of in the past, and you know who that was. You know the ones who deprived you of love that you deserved in the past. Remember them?
Yeah.
Starting with mom and dad, and just going on down the line. All those folks that should have loved you, but they didn't. They deprived you of the love that was rightly yours, and you felt wounded by that. And so now you're going to find somebody who reminds you of them, and you're going to have them make up for that love. They're going to give you that love that they didn't give you in the past, right? That's a special relationship. It's a relationship with that kind of purpose. That's the ego's chief weapon for keeping you from the love that you are, the love that you cannot lose, the love that meets every need you have and fulfills you to the point where you don't have a need. That's what real love does. That's what the love of God does. When you allow that love in, the needs you thought you have are undone. They're corrected. Wow, my need is something that needs to be corrected. Wow.
That's where the form comes in. Our special relationship has form.
Right.
To keep us from that formless love.
Exactly, because the special relationship, whether it's parent, child, lover, family, whatever, colleagues, a special relationship is based on the body. The love of God relationship is not. A special relationship, special love as the Course calls it, is completely dependent on where the body is, what it does, what it has, the fear of its loss, the fear of its death, its birth, So one relationship is not based on the body. The other relationship is completely based on the body.
And that's why it tricks us so well. It has the form of union,
right,
rather than real union.
Right.
So
And
why not even have any special relationships then?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. Because two people. There you go. Do I need to say more? Do I need to say more? No. Thank you, Judy. Well, Judy, thank you for sharing, but that's not exactly what the Course says.
Well, then, of course, it's never right.
I love it. So I'm going to get a comment, I know, on your comment. When my classes go online, I get comments sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't hear about that one. No. Okay, the reason why it is still valuable to have a relationship is because when two human beings come together, and together they decide to remember what love really is, together, then the will of God, all the love and power of the universe join to their effort and moves through those two people, where two or more are gathered for that purpose, then that's how, the Course says that any two people who make that decision together, they become the shelter. They become the shelter from which hell, earth, is turned into heaven. Okay? So when two people come together for the purpose of remembering that they are love, and they make the agreement, hey, I'm going to help you remember that you are love and that God is your source, and you help me remember, and we have that as our purpose, instead of to get love from each other, then the Course in Miracles says that relationship becomes the salvation of the whole world. Because now that relationship ends the separation. Okay. Does that answer your question, James?
Yes.
Okay. The Course in Miracles says that it is only in joining minds that you go beyond time, that you go beyond the world and go beyond the ego. Why? Because the ego is the idea of separateness. The ego is the idea of separateness. The ego is the idea of, there's something missing in me. I'm lacking something and I need to find it in you. Or is it you? Or you? Or is it you? Who has that missing part? Okay? That is the ego. When two people come together for the purpose of remembering together that they ain't missing nothing, that they're only there to mirror each other's wholeness and to remember their wholeness that comes from God, then that is the end of the ego. That is the end of the ego. And so that's why the ego is against this.
So this,
Wow.
this joining of the minds you're talking about, that, you could do that with God or with another.
That's
It
right.
would be the same thing.
That's exactly
If two
right.
of you come, so will God. And if you would join with God, then your mind is open to all others. So
That's
to
right,
speak.
exactly. If the ego is the idea of separation, and with another human you remember that you are not separate, then that's the end of the ego, and that is the memory of God, and that's the memory of love, and that it returns.
So you think momentarily you would lose your separate identity, so to speak?
That's exactly right. And that brings us right back to the section. We are afraid of love, whether it's union, remembering union with another human being, or remembering union with God. The Course says they're the same thing. When that happens, he says that you lose your perception of separateness. You lose for a moment that feeling of separateness. And that's the ego's greatest threat. Because why? Because that's the end of the ego. The ego is we're separate. We're separate. And so we're competing and we need to take from each other. That is the ego. Okay? So my ego is terrified of union. My ego is afraid of a love that is shared with everyone equally forever. Because where's mine then? Where's the thing just for me? And truly, I have learned that my value comes from my uniqueness. Something that's just for me. Something that's just mine. Right? You tell me of a love that isn't just mine? I am not interested. Oh, you have a love for everyone equally and you don't have a love just for me? See ya. Right? Why? Because I have come to learn that my value and my identity itself comes from that which is just for me, just mine.
Wonder what someone would do if you said, so what's your goal of this relationship? Well, to find God.
Mm-hmm.
They'd probably wet their pants.
Well, yeah. Which,
I mean, wouldn't that be a good goal? though?
absolutely, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my goal now is I would like to be able to, my purpose now is to help other people remember that they have no need of love because they are love. And that they need not give up who they are and what they want to feel innocent and to experience love. And my goal, that's my goal, is that I be a constant reminder of that. And that any part of me that wants them to meet my need, that any part of me that wants that and is willing to hurt them and make them feel guilty if they don't, if they aren't able or willing to meet my need and be what I need. Any part of me that wants to hurt them because of that, I want that part of me healed. I want that part of me corrected. The part of me that thinks you need to be a certain way for me to feel good about myself. And if you don't, I'm going to make you feel guilty. I'm going to shame you. And I'm going to reject you. And I'm going to criticize you and blame you. I want that. My goal is to have that part of me brought to truth and corrected. So that when I feel that littleness and that jealousy and that competitiveness and that grievance with that person, that I go, excuse me, I'll be back. I'll see you in a few hours. And I go read my book and take that belief within me, that the belief system within me, that need within me, and I take it to God. I take it to truth. And I go, please look at that and correct that for me. Please give me the truth about myself that reminds me that I am the love. I am love. I am love. I am complete. I don't need anybody to give up in any way for me to feel loved. So that's my purpose in a relationship. I want someone to feel whole and complete as they are. They need not sacrifice in order to be loved and have love, okay? And that any part of me that wants to get love from them and punish them, that part of me be corrected. And that we wake up to the love we are together. We wake up to God's love together. Imagine that.
You want to get married?
What'd you say?
You want to get married?
Do I want to get married?
Not today.
Only when I am in my ego. Because when I'm not in my ego, I know that's not the problem and it ain't the answer. But when I'm in my ego, I'm like, oh, I wish I could be married. Wouldn't that be nice? Do you want to marry me? Well, you don't? What's your problem? You must not be the one. Right? So only when I'm in my ego, when I'm in my wrong perception, when I'm being afraid of the love of God, would something in form be the thing to think about. Does that make sense? Okay.
So what it was at the base of all this need that I wanted somebody else to meet was just my thought that something was missing here.
That's right.
And that's what needs correction, because
That's
no
right.
matter how hard we try, we can't ever correct it out there.
That's exactly right.
It seems like they do, but
Right.
Why even tell somebody else that you love them then? I love you.
What I tell people is, first I tell them, I want to love you. Right? And I let them know that I don't love like the love of God yet. You know, I want to love you unconditionally. God, I would love to. And that's my goal, because you are so incredibly lovable. And so I tell them, I really want to love you for real, unconditionally. And I'm working toward that. Okay, once they understand that about me and they know what I'm talking about, then I go, I love you. I love you too. I love you. So I make sure to clarify, because if I tell somebody, I love you, but then I turn around and I'm having a grievance with them because they didn't show up on time, I have just lied through my teeth. Because love doesn't go, I love you, I love you, I love you, and then you don't fulfill my script and then I attack you. That ain't love. And so that's why we often feel so betrayed by love, and we're always like, love, you know, I'm just gonna be alone. Why? Because people say they love us when they don't. Not because they don't want to. They don't know what real love is. Love is unconditional. You. All right, speak up.
It's her fault.
All right.
I'm judging other people.
Okay. All right. At least you know what you're doing.
I do.
So if you say you know, love is unconditional, and real love has nothing to do with the body, and it's unconditional. If you tell someone you love them, and then they do one thing wrong, and you crucify them, you know, you're lying. You're lying. So what we want to do is tell people, God, I'm really appreciating you right now. God, I feel so close to you right now. I have such a strong desire to join with you, and I feel such a strong desire to love you unconditionally right now. It feels so good, right? And letting them know I want to love you like God, and that's my goal. And that way, when you tell them you love them, but then they don't show up on time, and you're like, you like guilt trip them. You don't have, they don't feel like they've been lied to. They don't feel like they've been betrayed. Because you didn't come into the relationship telling them, I know how to love you. You entered the relationship going, I'd like to learn. I'm working on it. And I don't know how to love unconditionally, which means I don't know what love means. And so I'm not going to give you only love. And I apologize in advance. And that's my goal. And I am going to make lots of mistakes because I do not know what love really is. I do not know how to love, not like God, which means I don't know how to love at all. Of course, if you don't love like God, you don't love at all. Because there is no love except for the love of God. You know, just because you made up something and called it love, don't mean it's love at all. And that's why we're all so confused. We're like, wait a minute, we called it love, but it hurt like hell. And I had to go to therapy for years to recover from that. It's very confusing. Now, once you hear something say, hey, that wasn't love, that was fear, coming from people who didn't really know what love really is or really how to love because they didn't get it, then you're like, oh, that's why it hurts so much. Oh, okay. Oh, then I don't really need to be afraid of love? No, you don't need to be afraid of love. You had never even experienced love. So you don't need to be afraid of love. That wasn't love that hurt you. That wasn't love that hurt you.
So a lot of people should be saying, I fear you.
Yeah, I fear you. Will you be my fear slave? I will. Here's a ring.
So we're getting together to allow each other to make our errors on each other.
Exactly. So a holy relationship starts from a different premise. And it goes to a totally different place. It doesn't go into disappointment and despair and disillusionment where you're like, I'm so disillusioned. You remember that feeling? It comes about like 6 to 9 months after you get together. I'm so disillusioned. Maybe it's a few years down the road. You know, I thought it was love, and now I'm so disillusioned. That's good. Look, to be disillusioned meant that you had to start an illusion. Disillusioned means you were in illusion to start with. So once you realize that it wasn't love that broke your heart, okay, now you can find real love. Now you can approach love with less fear. Here he is telling us about our fear of love. And we've been talking about why. Why do we have a fear of love? How do we get such a profound fear of love? This is how. Our ego taught us that love was sacrifice and that you could get love through sacrifice and through guilt, and you could get sacrifice through guilt. And so we were trying to get love by hurting each other and by hurting ourselves, sacrificing ourselves and asking them to sacrifice who they were for love. That's how we became terrified of love. That's how it happened. And now when someone says they love us, we're like, thank you. Okay, thank you. That's nice. Or like me, when I had a child and felt a love like I had never known before, I became more afraid than I'd ever been in my whole life. Ever. And I had known some fear. But that was like, that was a fear like beyond. Why? Because of what I had learned about love. So it was my false beliefs about love. Now we know why, as we approach real love, that a part of us is shaking in our boots and absolutely determined to sabotage it to death. Wow, like, why is it that when love comes close, then something always happens? Why is it that when I allow love to come in, something messes up? Right? This is why. This is why. And we need to know that. We need to know why sometimes after it feels so good, we feel so united, that chaos breaks out in our lives. We need to know that. We need to know why that happens. And this section explains it. Why do you need to know why? So that when it happens, you can go, oh yeah, this is my fear of peace. This is my fear of love. I feel more comfortable in chaos. I feel more comfortable being alone, even though I complain about it. I feel more uncomfortable with less money and less love and feeling grievances between me and my partner. I feel more comfortable with that. That's why it happens when I get closer to people. I always sabotage it, or they sabotage it, and then we end up in the biggest fight we've ever been in. Wait a minute. We just felt the most love, but now we're in the biggest fight. Now, we need to know that. We need to know what's happening so that we can take responsibility for what's happening and not blame it. We can go, this is my fear of love. This is my fear of union. And Holy Spirit, I ask for the correction of my fear of love. Please help me to remember that love and a sense of union is safe and natural. And so you're identifying the problem correctly. It's not because they're a jerk. It's not because you're a failure. It's because you're afraid of love. You've identified the problem. It's your fear of love. And you've taken it to the real source of correction, which is Holy Spirit correcting it in your mind. Now the fear of love gets corrected, and your brain gets rewired to feel comfortable with union and peace and love.
The ego wants us to put love in a condition, maybe condition.
Yes.
I condition to this person over
Yes.
here, and then within myself, I create that conditioned love.
Yes.
Total opposite of unconditional love.
Exactly. I like what you said, love tied to a condition. Okay. Love tied to a condition is not love. It's only fear being called love. And now we're teasing apart the idea of love and conditions, love and the body. We're unteasing love and the body, love and sacrifice, love and fear. And so that when fear in the name of love comes up, we can correctly go, that's not love, that's fear.
And then that condition is what creates the monkey mind or the mental madness, is because we're totally out of unconditional love at that point because it's conditioned.
Exactly.
It's thought.
Exactly. Now, in that moment, if we would go, hey, love is not conditioned, has nothing to do with condition, and I ask to experience real love, I would like to give this person real love. In that moment, when that's your desire, then that's what happens. Real love floods your awareness and moves through you, and then you find yourself able to give something to other people, a love that truly does transcend the condition. And then they go, right. And then notice how, and then you feel fulfilled because of the unconditional love that came through you. And you go, wow, isn't that interesting? I felt fulfilled when it came through me. Whereas, and that's a total healing of the belief that love is something that comes to us from others. And then we go, oh, the love that I'm seeking is something that moves through me, that goes beyond their body, their conditions, their ego, and my conditions and my ego. And we go, oh, okay. So now we're learning the real nature of love, which is the thing we've all sought behind the search for all the vain illusions that we thought we wanted and that we thought would make us happy. We're learning what we really want and where to really find it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So we're going to stop
So
here.
this is a little bit of a, I had a thought, I created a need. And instead of all the ways that I've been trying to deal with that didn't work, this is trying to point us to a path that will fulfill that need.
That's exactly
We'll
right.
erase it from your mind.
That's right. It will undo the need.
Filled or gone.
Right. The Course calls on our needs. There's a section called The Illusion of Needs.
I know, right? I gotta check.
All right. So thank you for your love offerings. I really deeply appreciate them, and the Miracle Center appreciates them as well. On the piano, I have readings where I'm reading the original edition onto CDs with music. They are $10 each. If you want one, just put the money in the basket. This basket, not that basket.
Basket is a basket.
That's right. Okay. So we did that section without ever reading a line.
You read the first one.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, good.
It was a doozy.
Oh, it sure was. It sure was a doozy of one line. Sure was. So thank you for being safe enough and easy enough so that I could just let whatever needs to come through without being worried because it's y'all. So thank you for giving me that safety and that freedom to just, see what Holy Spirit has to say. Okay. Okay, so, and then all these classes I put up on YouTube. So if you want to see them again, or if you want to send it to somebody, it's up on YouTube. What?
She's bad. I
I
have to go
said-
home with her. I don't know.
Do you?
I said I never want to see that again.
My ego neither. My ego neither. You would believe the things my ego does to keep me from watching these. You would believe. All right. So let's do our integration meditation where we take these ideas and take them a little bit deeper. And let me get to some music. I got Julie. I love you.
I love you too. To go to work.
You are innocent.
Turn the lights out? Oh, I think
No, you can keep them on. All right. So just close your eyes and take a breath. And just breathe. And just tune into how you feel right now, having heard these ideas tonight. For a moment, I want you to see if you can just feel into your call to love. Behind the search for every special relationship is the intense and burning desire for God, for the love. See if you can allow your awareness to sink beneath the desire for love in the world, love of the body. Sink beneath that to your desire for the love of the universe, the love that is everything, the love that is all, the love that is you, the love that is your source, and the love that is your home, and the love that is the fulfillment of every desire you have ever had. See if you can find that desire. This is the desire of your heart. And just breathe it in. And if you can't feel it, ask for it. Ask to feel the love of God. Ask for the love of God. Ask to feel the love you are. When your ego pulls something up that's the opposite of that feeling, tell yourself the truth about it. This is my fear of love, and I ask for the correction of it. This is what I'm using to keep me from feeling this love, and I ask for the correction of it. I want you to bring to your awareness a situation or relationship recently where you felt angry or hostile with another person. What the Course calls a special relationship, a relationship in which there's a grievance. And looking at this situation or relationship, I want you to tell yourself This is my fear of love. This is my replacement for the love of God. And ask for the correction of my fear of love. And then sink beneath that fear of love, moving toward love, the love. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, take a breath, and yawn and stretch and bring your awareness back to your body. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you.
Oh.